You know what fascinates me? We live in a world that worships talent. People point at the athlete with perfect form, the singer with the flawless voice, the entrepreneur with the brilliant idea, and we say that's why they're successful. But let me tell you something most people never stop to realize: a skill alone doesn't determine success. In fact, there are millions of people out there with incredible skills who never make it to the top, never live the life they dream of. Why? Because skill without the right attitude is like a Ferrari without fuel. It looks good, but it's going nowhere. Think about it. You can have all the training, all the education, all the experience in the world. If your attitude is negative, if your mindset is weak, if you approach challenges with fear instead of hunger, you'll sabotage yourself before you even start. On the other hand, give me someone with average skill but an unstoppable attitude. I'll show you someone who will outwork, outlast, and eventually outperform the so-called talented. And here's why I want you to lean in and really listen today. Because the difference between where you are and where you want to be isn't about learning 10 new tricks or gaining 10 new certificates. It's about transforming the way you show up. It's about the energy you bring when you walk into the room, fire you hold when things get hard, and the way you choose to see yourself even when the world counts you out. So if you've ever felt like you weren't the smartest, the most gifted, or the most prepared, don't worry. This message is for you. Because once you shift your attitude, everything else begins to shift with it. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why attitude is more powerful than skill and how changing the way you think will change the way you live. Skill can be learned. Attitude shapes destiny. Let me explain what I mean. Every one of us was born without skill. Nobody came into this world knowing how to write, how to run a business, how to paint a masterpiece, or how to lead others. We all started from zero. The skills we carry today were built through repetition, through trial and error, through failure and progress. Skills are things you collect along the way. You can always add more. You can always refine them, polish them, strengthen them. That's the beautiful part of being human. You can keep growing. But here's the catch: without the right attitude, all of that knowledge, all of that ability, all of that talent is like having a toolbox locked shut with a padlock. You may have the tools, you can't access them, you can't apply them, and you certainly can't maximize them. I've met people who had extraordinary skills but carried a negative, defeated, or arrogant attitude. They thought their talent alone was enough. They thought the world would reward them just because they were good at something. But life doesn't work that way. Skill will open a door, but it won't keep it open. Attitude is what sustains you when the door slams shut, when rejection hits, disappointment comes, when things don't go according to plan. Without the right attitude, even the most skilled person will eventually fall to the sidelines. Now, on the flip side, I've met people who weren't the most skilled, at least not in the beginning. They weren't the fastest, the smartest, or the most prepared. But their attitude was fierce. They came in hungry. They were willing to learn, willing to stumble, willing to get back up again and again. That hunger, that willingness, that mindset eventually turned into mastery. And the truth is, in almost every case, those people outpaced the ones who started with more talent. Why? Because the right attitude doesn't just use the skills you already have. It multiplies them. It fuels the learning process. It turns setbacks into stepping stones. It transforms challenges into training. Think about it in your own life. Maybe there was a time you weren't ready, a time you didn't feel qualified, a time you knew your skills weren't enough, yet you stepped in anyway. You showed up with the attitude of, I'll figure it out, I'll learn, I'll adapt. And somehow you got through it. You may have stumbled, you may have been uncomfortable, but you grew. That's the power of attitude. It turns the impossible into progress, and progress, repeated, creates results. Skills alone are static. They're just techniques. They sit there waiting to be used. But attitude is dynamic, it's alive. It's the force that activates those skills. Imagine two people with the exact same ability. One of them says, I'm not sure I can do this. What if I fail? The other says, I don't know how this will turn out, but I'm going to give everything I've got. Same skill set, two different outcomes. Not because of the knowledge, but because of the mindset. The one who believes, who shows up, who brings passion and energy is the one who will rise. The world is filled with stories of people who didn't start with much skill, but had an unstoppable attitude. Look at the athletes who weren't drafted, the entrepreneurs who were rejected, the artists who were told they weren't talented enough. They could have listened. They could have quit, but their attitude refused to let them. And through persistence, through obsession, through resilience, they built the skills they needed along the way. Eventually, they didn't just catch up. They surpassed the ones who were told they had natural talent. Now, ask yourself, where in your life are you holding back because you think you don't have enough skill? Where are you waiting until you're ready? Waiting until you know more? Waiting until you're perfectly prepared? That hesitation, that delay is a trap because you'll never feel fully ready. The ones who win are not the ones who start fully equipped. They're the ones who start anyway. They let their attitude lead and their skills grow with the journey. I want you to imagine for a moment your future self. The version of you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, living the life you dream of. That version of you has skills you don't have yet. That version of you is sharper, stronger, more capable. But you can't become that person by waiting. You become that person by showing up today with the attitude that says, I am willing to grow. I am willing to risk. I am willing to keep moving even when I don't feel qualified. That's how you close the gap between who you are and who you want to be. Here's the raw truth. Skills can get you in the room, but attitude determines whether you stay in the room, whether you grow in the room, whether you ultimately own the room. If you walk in with ego, people shut down. If you walk in with fear, opportunities slip away. But if you walk in with curiosity, with humility, with fire, people notice. They feel it. They want to be around it. Attitude makes you magnetic. It draws people opportunities and possibilities that skill alone could never unlock. And when life hits hard, and it will, attitude is the only thing that will carry you forward. Skills don't stop fear. Skills don't erase rejection. Skills don't rebuild your confidence when it's been shattered. Attitude does. The belief you hold, the perspective you choose, the energy you bring. That's what keeps you moving when others give up. That's why someone with half the skill but twice the attitude will always go further. So never underestimate the power of how you show up. The world doesn't need you to be perfect. It doesn't need you to have every skill mastered. The world needs is your energy, your courage, your willingness to keep pushing. Because the truth is your skills will grow with time, but your destiny will only grow if your attitude fuels it. That's why skill can be learned. Attitude shapes destiny. Every one of us is going to hit walls. It doesn't matter how talented you are, how well trained you are, or how prepared you feel. Life will test you. There will be moments where skill alone won't be enough. There will be situations where all your knowledge, all your practice, all your preparation still falls short. And when that happens, what determines whether you break down or break through isn't your skill set, it's your attitude. It's the resilience you carry. It's the way you choose to see the obstacle in front of you. Because let's be honest, life doesn't play fair. You can do everything right and still get knocked down. You can practice harder than anyone else, still fail in front of everyone. You can pour your heart into something only to have it fall apart. Skill doesn't protect you from those moments. But attitude, your inner stance, your mental toughness, that's what decides whether those moments define you or refine you. I've seen people who were incredibly skilled crumble when adversity showed up. They had the ability, they had the training. The moment things didn't go their way, they gave up. Why? Because their attitude wasn't built for resilience. They relied too heavily on their skills, thinking those alone would guarantee success. And when their skills weren't enough, they had nothing else to stand on. On the other hand, I've seen people with far less ability get hit just as hard and somehow find the strength to keep going. They weren't necessarily the best, but their attitude gave them endurance. They turned pain into fuel, rejection into redirection, failure into feedback. And because they kept going, they grew. They got stronger. They became unstoppable. That's what resilience really is. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about how you respond to it. It's about whether you see the wall in front of you as the end of the road or just another challenge to climb over. And that decision has nothing to do with skill. It has everything to do with attitude. Think about a time in your life where you hit that wall. Maybe it was losing a job. Maybe it was being rejected by someone you cared about. Maybe it was failing at something you worked hard on. In that moment, you probably felt powerless. You might have thought, I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. But if you're honest, looking back, the thing that got you through wasn't suddenly becoming more skilled overnight. It was shifting your attitude. It was finding a reason to keep moving forward when everything in you wanted to quit. That's resilience. And that's why attitude matters more than skill when life gets hard. Resilience is built in the moments you don't feel like continuing but do anyway. It's built when you show up again and again, even when no one is watching, even when no one is cheering you on, even when no one believes in you. That's the difference maker. Because skill can take you to a certain point, but only attitude can carry you when the road gets rough. And here's the truth, the road will get rough. Every person who has ever achieved something extraordinary has faced setbacks that could have ended them. The athletes who become champions aren't the ones who never lose. They're the ones who keep coming back after defeat. The entrepreneurs who succeed aren't the ones with flawless business plans. They're the ones who adapt when everything collapses. The leaders who inspire aren't the ones who never make mistakes. They're the ones who keep leading even when they've stumbled. That's attitude. That's resilience. And that's why it matters more than anything else. When you cultivate resilience, failure stops being final. It becomes a teacher. Every rejection, every setback, every no becomes feedback that makes you sharper. With the right attitude, you don't see failure as proof that you're not enough. You see it as proof that you're growing. And when you live with that mindset, there's nothing that can hold you back for long, because even if you get knocked down times, you'll rise 11. And let me tell you, the world respects resilience. People may admire talent. They may applaud skill. What truly inspires them is attitude. When they see someone refuse to quit, when they watch someone push through pain, when they witness someone rise again after being counted out, that lights something up in them. That creates belief. That makes people want to follow, to support, to stand beside you. Resilience makes you magnetic, not just to opportunity, but to people. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You don't have to have every skill mastered to create impact. You just have to be willing to keep showing up when others give up. Because most people quit too soon. They hit one wall and think it's the end. But the few who keep going, ones whose attitude won't let them surrender, They're the ones who eventually rise above. Now, I want you to ask yourself, where in your life have you been letting a lack of skill convince you to quit? Where have you told yourself, I'm just not good enough? Instead of asking, how can I grow through this? Because that's the real question. Not whether you're skilled enough today, whether your attitude will keep you moving long enough to become skilled enough tomorrow. Resilience doesn't come from what you know. It comes from who you decide to be when life knocks you down. And the moment you choose to rise, to fight, to keep moving, that's the moment you prove to yourself that attitude is greater than skill. Because in the end, resilience doesn't just carry you through hard times, it transforms you. It shapes your character, it builds your strength, it prepares you for the next level of life. And that transformation doesn't happen because of skill. It happens because of attitude. That's why attitude fuels resilience when skills fall short. There's something powerful I want you to understand. Opportunity doesn't always flow to the most talented. It flows to the most magnetic. And what makes someone magnetic isn't skill, it's attitude. People don't just remember what you can do. They remember how you made them feel. They remember the energy you brought, the way you carried yourself, the presence you had in the room. Skills might impress for a moment. Attitude leaves a lasting impression that opens doors again and again. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone who wasn't the most skilled land an opportunity over someone more talented? Maybe at work, you've noticed the person who wasn't the sharpest technically, but they always showed up with positivity, with drive, with a willingness to contribute. Somehow they get promoted. Somehow people want to work with them, to be around them. It's not an accident. It's because their attitude creates trust. It creates connection. It creates a sense of possibility that skill alone never could. On the other hand, we've all seen people with incredible talent sabotage themselves. They had the ability, they had the credentials, but they walked into the room with arrogance or negativity and the opportunities slipped away. Why? Because no matter how skilled you are, nobody wants to work with someone who drains energy, who spreads doubt, who makes the room heavier. Skill might earn respect, but attitude earns loyalty, and loyalty is what keeps opportunities flowing long after talent gets noticed. The truth is, opportunities are people driven. No matter what field you're in, no matter what dream you're chasing, at the core of every opportunity is a person making a decision. And people don't just base decisions on skill, they base them on trust, on energy, the way you show up. If your attitude communicates confidence, humility, openness, and hunger, people will lean toward you. They'll choose you, even if you're not the most talented option in front of them. And here's what most people don't realize is always watching how you show up when no one's keeping score. Your boss, your colleagues, your clients, your family, they notice your attitude. They notice how you respond when things don't go your way. They notice how you handle pressure. They notice how you treat people who can't do anything for you. And those little moments build your reputation. That reputation creates or destroys opportunities. Skills can get buried, but attitude is visible in everything you do. Now, let's take it deeper. Attitude doesn't just attract opportunities, it multiplies them. When you show up with the right energy, doors don't just open once, they open repeatedly. People talk. They say, you've got to meet this person. You've got to bring them into your project. You've got to give them a chance. You become the kind of person others want to bet on, not because you're perfect, but because they believe in your spirit. They believe you'll find a way to deliver no matter what. Think about leaders who inspire you. Most of them aren't the most technically skilled in their field. They surround themselves with people who are more skilled than them. What makes them stand out is their attitude, their vision, their belief, their energy. That's what draws others in. That's what makes people want to join them, follow them, and give them opportunities that others never see. And it works the same in every area of life. In relationships, people aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for presence, for attitude, for the way you show up when things get tough. In business, people aren't only investing in ideas, they're investing in the attitude of the person behind the idea. In sports, coaches don't only look at stats, they look at the mindset of the athlete. They ask, can this person handle pressure? Can they bring energy to the team? Can they bounce back after a mistake? That's attitude, not skill. You to pause and think, what's the energy you bring into the spaces you enter? Are you the person people are excited to see walk into the room, or the one they secretly hope doesn't show up? Are you the person who lifts others up, the one who drains them? Because the opportunities you attract aren't just about what you can do, they're about who you are while you're doing it. Here's something you have to understand. People will forget the exact details of your skills. They will never forget how you made them feel. They'll forget the numbers you presented, the technical jargon you used, the clever trick you pulled off. But they'll remember whether you made them feel hopeful, inspired, safe, or valued. When it comes time to hand out opportunities, they'll give them to the person who made them feel alive. That's why attitude is the great amplifier. It doesn't just enhance your skills. It makes people want to give you a platform to use them. Let's be real, carrying the right attitude isn't always easy. There will be days you don't feel like showing up. There will be days you're frustrated, tired, or overlooked. And in those moments, it's tempting to let negativity take over. That's the very moment where attitude becomes most important. Because anyone can smile when everything's going well. It's how you carry yourself when things are falling apart that defines you. That's what people notice. That's what people remember. And the best part, you control it. You may not control your circumstances. You may not control the outcome. You may not even control the opportunities that come your way, but you always control your attitude. You decide whether you'll be the person who brings solutions or the person who adds to the problem. You decide whether you'll focus on what's possible or on what's missing. And those decisions, repeated over and over, shape the opportunities that flow toward you. So let me ask you again, what would shift in your life if you decided from this day forward to carry an attitude that attracts opportunities instead of repels them? What doors might open? Relationships might strengthen. What chances might appear that weren't visible before? Because they're out there. They're waiting. And they're not looking for the most skilled person. They're looking for the one whose attitude says, I'm ready. I'm willing. I'll find a way. That's why attitude attracts opportunities more than talent does. So many people walk around with gifts, with abilities, with potential that never gets used. They've got the skills, they've got the talent, they've got what it takes to change their lives and maybe even change the world, but no one ever sees it. And do you know why? It's not because they don't have enough skill. It's because they don't have the courage to use the skills they already have. And courage doesn't come from talent. Courage comes from attitude. I've met people who are brilliant but paralyzed. They know what to do. They know how to do it. They live in hesitation. They tell themselves they need more preparation, more training, more certainty before they step forward. And while they wait, while they hold back, someone with half the skill but twice the attitude steps into the arena and takes the opportunity. And the world rewards the one who showed up, not the one who stayed hidden. You see, skill sitting in the shadows serves no one. It doesn't matter how sharp your sword is if you never pull it from the sheath. Attitude is the force that draws that sword. It's the belief that says, I may not be perfect. I'm going to use what I have and give it everything I've got. That attitude unlocks the courage to take risks, to put yourself out there, to use your skills boldly instead of keeping them buried. Think about the times in your own life when you held back. Maybe you didn't speak up in the meeting even though you had the right idea. Maybe you didn't go for that opportunity because you thought, I'm not ready yet. Maybe you didn't pursue the dream that's been burning inside you because you were afraid of what people would think if you failed. That wasn't a skill problem. That was an attitude problem. Because the truth is, never feel fully ready. You'll never feel like you know enough or have enough. At some point, you've got to let your attitude override your fear and say, I'm going to step forward anyway. And here's the beautiful thing. Once you step forward, your skills grow in the process. You don't have to be amazing to start, but you do have to start to become amazing. Courage breeds growth. Every time you use your skills, you sharpen them. Every time you put yourself out there, you learn something new. Every time you act, you expand your capacity, but none of that happens if your attitude doesn't give you the courage to move first. I've seen this over and over again. In business, the most successful people aren't the ones who sat on their idea waiting until it was perfect. They're the ones who launched before they felt ready, who learned as they went, let their attitude of action carry them. In sports, the ones who become legends aren't the ones who waited until the spotlight was safe. They're the ones who took the shot, who risked missing in front of everyone, dared to fail and kept trying anyway. In life, the people who rise are the ones who choose courage over comfort. And courage is born from attitude. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying skill doesn't matter. Of course it matters. What good is skill if it's never used? What good is talent if it's locked away behind fear? Attitude is the key that unlocks the vault. It's what gives you permission to step forward before you feel ready. And the irony is, by stepping forward with courage, you actually become ready. So many people wait for confidence to come before they act, but confidence doesn't come first. Action does. Confidence is the byproduct of courage. It's the reward you earn after stepping into the unknown. And that step into the unknown requires attitude. The voice that says, I can do this. I don't have to know everything right now. I'll figure it out. I'll find a way. That voice doesn't come from skill. That voice comes from your mindset, your perspective, your attitude. And let me tell you, the world needs your skills. It needs your voice. It needs your contribution. The world can't benefit from what you hide. It only benefits from what you use boldly. When you step forward, when you use your skills with courage, you give others permission to do the same. Your attitude becomes contagious. You show people what's possible when you stop waiting and start acting. And that ripple effect is powerful. I want you to imagine what would shift in your life if you stopped waiting. Imagine what doors would open if you spoke up instead of staying quiet. Imagine what chances you'd take if you leaned on your courage instead of your fear. Imagine where you'd be 1 year from now if your attitude pushed you to use your skills boldly instead of hiding them. The truth is, your future is shaped not by the skills you have, but by whether you have the courage to use them. And remember, courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. Courage means you move forward in spite of fear. It means you feel the doubt, the uncertainty, the risk, and you do it anyway. That's attitude. That's the mindset that separates those who live full out from those who spend their lives wondering what might have been. So don't let fear keep your skills buried. Don't wait until you're ready. Because ready is a myth. Decide that your attitude will lead and your skills will follow. Decide that you'll step forward now, not someday. Decide that you'll use what you have right where you are with courage. Because the truth is, attitude unlocks the courage to use your skills boldly. We've all seen it. People with incredible skills, people who are talented beyond belief, who somehow sabotage themselves. They've got the intelligence, the ability to know how, yet they keep tripping over the same obstacles. They undercut their own success, not because they don't have what it takes, but because their attitude poisons the very ground they're standing on. Skills without the right attitude can become your downfall. They can turn into arrogance, into laziness, into fear, into excuses. And when that happens, your greatest strength becomes your greatest weakness. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who was brilliant at what they did, but impossible to work with? They had the talent, but their ego was bigger than their results. Or maybe they had all the knowledge in the world. Their negativity made it unbearable to be around them. That's self-sabotage. The skill is there, but the wrong attitude cancels it out. People stop wanting to help, stop wanting to support, stop wanting to give opportunities. Eventually, person's own attitude closes doors that their talent once opened. I've also seen people who were so afraid of failing that they hid behind their skills. They kept polishing, preparing, perfecting, telling themselves, when I'm really ready, I'll step forward. And you know what happens? They wait. And wait, and opportunities pass them by because their attitude of fear outweighed their courage. Skills can be a shield if you don't have the right attitude. You can end up hiding behind them instead of using them. The danger is this: skills can give you a false sense of security. You start believing that because you're talented, success is guaranteed. Success isn't guaranteed by skill, it's earned by the way you show up. Attitude is the engine that keeps you moving, that keeps you learning, that keeps you growing. Without it, skill can actually make you complacent. You start thinking, I'm already good enough. And you stop pushing, you stop evolving. And in a world that never stops changing, standing still is the fastest way to fall behind. Now, I want you to think about the people who have inspired you most in life, the ones you respect, the ones you admire, the ones you look at and say, that's who I want to become. Chances are it's not just their skills that made them memorable. It's their attitude. It's the way they carried themselves. It's the way they responded under pressure, the way they treated people, the way they kept going when everything was against them. That's what made them great. Their skills may have gotten them noticed, but their attitude is what kept them there. The flip side, think of someone who had everything going for them and threw it away. Maybe it was an athlete who wasted their career because of arrogance. Maybe it was a leader who lost everything because of greed. Maybe it was a friend or family member who had all the potential in the world, but let negativity or fear control them. The skill was there, but the attitude destroyed it. That's what happens when you forget that who you are is always more important than what you can do. And here's the truth, self-sabotage isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, it's procrastination, it's doubting yourself, it's talking yourself out of taking the next step. It's comparing yourself to others until you convince yourself you're not enough. It's blaming circumstances instead of taking responsibility. All of those patterns are rooted in attitude, not skill. If you don't change them, no amount of talent will save you. But here's the good news, you can flip the script. If you catch yourself leaning on your skills, but neglecting your attitude, you can shift. You can decide that your mindset will lead the way. You can choose humility over arrogance, hunger over complacency, courage over fear. You can remind yourself that your skills are gifts, but it's your attitude that determines how those gifts are used. When you make that shift, something powerful happens. Your skills stop being a weight you carry and start becoming tools you use. You stop hiding behind them and start putting them into action. You stop sabotaging yourself with negativity and start fueling yourself with belief. That's when your talent multiplies. That's when the doors open wider. That's when opportunities find you. Let me be very clear. Skill without the right attitude will never take you where you want to go. It might get you there temporarily, but it won't keep you there. It won't sustain you because sooner or later, life will test you. And when it does, if your attitude is wrong, skills won't save you. But if your attitude is right, if it's built on resilience, humility, courage, and hunger, you'll always find a way to rise. So don't just work on building your skills. Work on building your attitude. Because skills can make you look impressive, but attitude is what makes you unshakable. Skills may open doors, but attitude is what keeps those doors open. Skills can give you an opportunity, but attitude determines whether you'll waste it or maximize it. That's why skills without the right attitude lead to self-sabotage. At the end of the day, the legacy you leave behind will not be defined by how skilled you were, but by how you showed up in life. People won't remember the technicalities of what you did, the degrees on your wall, or the specific talents you mastered. They will remember how you made them feel. They'll remember the energy you brought into the room, the way you lifted them when they were down, the way you kept pushing forward when life was at its hardest. That is the power of attitude. It outlives skill every single time. I want you to imagine two different legacies. One is the person who was technically brilliant, but cold, arrogant, self-absorbed. They achieved things, yes, but they left behind broken relationships, strained connections, and a trail of people who never felt seen or valued. And then imagine another person who may not have had the same level of skill, but their attitude was magnetic. They were humble, grateful, encouraging. They believed in others. They showed courage when it mattered most. They left people better than they found them. Whose life had the greater impact? It's obvious, isn't it? Attitude isn't just about how you succeed. It's about how you live. It's about the energy you carry in every interaction, the standard hold yourself to, the example you set for those watching you. And make no mistake, people are watching. Children are watching. Your friends are watching. Your team, your peers, your family, they're all watching and they're learning from you. They may admire your skills, but they will be shaped by your attitude. Skills are temporary. They evolve. They become outdated. They fade with time. The best skill from 20 years ago may not even matter today. Technology changes, industries change, the world changes. But attitude, it's timeless. A positive, resilient, determined attitude is just as valuable today as it was 100 years ago, and it will still be valuable 100 years from now. Skills can make you relevant for a season, but attitude makes you significant for a lifetime. Let me tell you something powerful. Your attitude has a ripple effect. It extends beyond you. When you choose to show up with strength, positivity, and resilience, you give other people permission to do the same. Your energy multiplies. Act of encouragement, one moment of courage, one choice to rise instead of crumble, it spreads. And that ripple is your true legacy. That ripple is what lasts when the trophies collect dust and the applause fades away. Think about the people we call legends. It's not just what they did, it's how they did it. Their skills might have set them apart, but it was their attitude, their perseverance, their humility, their belief that made them unforgettable. They're remembered not just for what they achieved, but for the way they carried themselves, for the example they left for others to follow. And you have that same choice. Every single day you are building your legacy. Every conversation, every obstacle, every triumph, it's all shaping the story of who you are. Now here's the trap many people fall into. They think their legacy will be determined later, someday, the future when they've made it. But your legacy isn't something you build in the future. You're building it right now with every decision you make, every attitude you adopt, every way you choose to treat people. You are writing the story that will outlast you. Skills can be impressive in the moment, but it's your attitude that echoes long after you're gone. Here's the truth. When your attitude is aligned with strength, humility, and belief, it elevates your skills. It takes whatever ability you have and magnifies it. But when your attitude is toxic, it diminishes your skills. People may still see your talent, but they won't want to follow it. They won't want to support it. They won't want to remember it. That's why focusing on skill alone is a dangerous game. It may win you short-term admiration. It won't build long-term impact. So what will people say about you when you're not in the room? What will they remember when your name comes up years from now? Will they say they were so talented but impossible to deal with? Or will they say that person inspired me? They lifted me. They showed me what was possible. That choice is made not by your skill set, but by your attitude. Life will test you. Circumstances will challenge you. There will be moments where your skills aren't enough. Those moments, your attitude will be the deciding factor. Will you crumble or will you rise? Will you let bitterness and frustration consume you, or will you choose resilience and gratitude? Those choices compound over time. They form the legacy that people remember. And let's be clear, your legacy isn't just about others. It's about you too. When you look back on your life, what will you be proud of? The skills you mastered or the character you developed? The accolades you collected or the impact you had on people's lives? Deep down, you already know the answer. Skills fade, attitude endures. Skills impress, attitude transforms. So don't just chase success, chase significance. Just perfect your skills, perfect your attitude. Don't just ask, what am I capable of? Ask, who am I becoming? Because the person you become, the way you live, the energy you bring, that's what will last. That's what will define your legacy. In the end, people won't talk about what you could do. They'll talk about who you were.